Moore Law is underwritten in the public interest by the Moore Law Firm, a legal professional association. This is Moore Law on Fox 19.
Welcome to Moore Law. Just about all of us will be involved in a car accident at some point, and if you get hurt, you need to know what your rights are and your options. You also need to know when to let your insurance company handle it and when it's time to get an attorney. The phone lines are open. If you've been injured in a crash, give us a call, 513-421-4691. With me today, Dan Moore. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Dad.
Where's your dad?
He is in Colorado. He's combining work and a little bit of skiing, I think.
Oh,
hopefully
good
he
for
comes back on walking on both feet.
And no crutches for your dad.
Yeah, we don't need that.
No, I was skiing yesterday. Actually, out at Perfect North Spring Carnival.
And you're still on 2 feet.
And I'm still on 2 feet.
That's great.
Thank goodness.
Well, I'm really happy about our guest this morning. We have Tony Castelli this morning. Tony, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Tony is a Cincinnati boy, like a lot of our guests. He grew up in the Finneytown area, went to St. Xavier High School. He graduated from Chase Law School here in town, worked his way through Chase Law School at night. He's been practicing injury law for over 30 years. He does car crashes, he does Social Security and workers' comp, so he's the right guy for today's show.
Well, good. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We talked a little bit before the show. You said there's one thing. If there was one thing you could tell the viewers, what would it be?
You got to be prepared in case you're in an accident, and that is you must have adequate insurance. There's too many people out there driving around with $12,500 of coverage. You break your arm, you get a rod, that's a big case. And so you need to get uninsured motorist coverage, underinsured motorist coverage. Talk to your agent. It's not that much more than just the basic coverage. So that's what they need to do.
But all the commercials I see say, minimum coverage, state minimum coverage. That's not what I want.
Yeah, no, it isn't. It's a really big problem, and what people don't understand is it's really cheap to get more coverage. The state minimum is usually sold to somebody who is looking to really cut their costs to the core. But for another $5 to $10 a month, you could get $100,000, $250,000 of coverage that will protect you and your family if somebody hits you that doesn't have adequate coverage. And that's really what you're concerned about.
Yeah, and if you asked someone, how much coverage do you have? Your client comes in, you're trying to find out, and they say, well, I got full coverage.
No such thing.
Well, exactly. Full coverage just means you have more than the basic liability coverage, okay? But it doesn't mean, I say, is it fool's coverage or full coverage? Because fool's coverage is $12,500. I hope that people that are advertising that aren't on this channel because that's just terrible. Yeah. And so you need to, like he says, you need to get at least $100,000 in coverage, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, at least. In fact, I always tell people, look, get as much as you can afford, because I've priced it out before, and I've seen that some folks can, for another $6 or $7 a month, literally, can get $250,000 worth of underinsured coverage. And that to not do that for $6 or $7, that's just a silly decision. $6 or $7 a month is not going to buy you much of anything. So you might as well get yourself something that's really worthwhile. Because after the fact, after it happens, when people come into our office, it's too late. You can't do anything about it. You've got what you've got for that crash.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, let us go to the phones. Let's start with Ann in Goshen. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
And you had a question, I guess, about designated drivers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I always, when we go out of town, a bunch of ladies, and I was out of town one time, and this lady said, I hope you have good insurance. And I said, I have a lot of money in insurance. She said, if I was to be hurt, I might sue you. And I thought, I can't wait to get you home.
Right. With friends like that, right?
I've never offered to take her even out to lunch after that. So I thought, do I have to be like the school where I have to have permission to put you in my car to keep from being sued?
Right. I mean, what is the, if somebody's in my car and we're involved in an accident, I assume that it's my fault, I'm liable?
Absolutely, yes. If you have a passenger or passengers and you're negligent and you cause the accident, then that passenger has a claim against you. And so that's why you want to have good insurance coverage. One of the sad things about it is if she had a family member in the car, now that's starting to, they're doing some changes with that. But if it's a family member living in your household, sometimes they're excluded from coverage for insurance. It's a bit crazy. But yeah, you got to be careful. So if you have somebody in your car, you know,
wanna
drive
know them
safely
well and drive
and
safely.
have plenty of insurance.
Well, and the other thing is it's not something really to worry about, because frankly, when you're involved in one of these cases, typically people are interested in the insurance money. So they're usually not going to go after you personally unless you're just made of money, like some celebrity or something. They're interested in the insurance. So if you're at fault, they'll be satisfied with your insurance coverage in most cases, and then they're going to go away. So it's not something to stop having friends and driving with friends over, but it's one of those things that you want to be safe. The other thing that it'll help you with is if you have a friend in your car with you, and somebody else hits you and causes a crash, it'll not only protect you, your underinsured coverage will protect you against that person. It can also protect the person in the car against that other person's negligence as well. So it's just a good thing to have all around.
And is it a case where I should go into the insurance company and I need to ask for more coverage? Because haven't we talked about this before, where you said sometimes they don't really tell you, for just the $6 or $7 more.
Yeah, I don't know if Tony's had the same experience. I suspect he probably has, but a lot of clients come into my office having no idea that it's so cheap to get more insurance. They think that they have good insurance, but an agent has never told them that they should have more. I don't know if you've got that same experience.
Well, absolutely. And sometimes you think, what are these agents doing? Could you have a claim against an agent for not telling the client to get adequate coverage? It's a hard claim to make, but I know one fellow who has them sign off. He offers them, higher limits. You should protect yourself. You got assets, and if they don't, he has them sign off. So I know from when I bought my Harley, before I left the dealership, I said, hey, I got to get insurance. Here, call this number. And the guy said, okay, what do you want, minimum limits? I said, no. Let's raise that up, especially if somebody hits me.
Absolutely.
The concept is liability coverage protects you if you're at fault. But if someone hurts you, that's where the uninsured motorist coverage comes in with very little limits. Someone hurts you, then you have a big policy that you can go to. Some people say, well, why do I have to go against my own insurance? Well, that's what it's there for. They're charging you a premium for that.
Okay. All right. We are going to take a break right now. We'll be back talking about traffic accidents. Give us a call, 513-421-4691.
Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio Super Lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
Welcome back. We are here talking about traffic accidents today. Our guest, Tony Castelli, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we want to get right back to the phones. Let's see. I know, Paul, you've been waiting a while. Paul in Independence, you had a question after your friend borrowed your truck.
Yeah, I did. Last Wednesday, it was the day of the snow. I had a friend borrow my truck. He had gotten into an accident, which was the other person's fault. I had been without a vehicle since Wednesday, so we had a family gathering this Sunday in Tennessee. What I wanted to know was, do I have any right to? Should I have got a rental car? Should I be using my attorney? His new attorney now. I told him to call. Should I use my attorney to get my vehicle replaced, or should I get another attorney? Or
Okay, well, sure. So who's kind of at fault there, and what do you think he should do?
Well, what we have here is it doesn't sound like, Paul, that you were involved in the crash. Is that right?
No, sir. I was not even at the site. He just borrowed my truck.
Okay, I got. So what you're interested in is getting your truck fixed or replaced. Am I hearing you?
Well, I've been walking since Wednesday, and then I didn't know if I was get lost wages for something like that, or
well, typically the other insurance company is going to be required to provide you a replacement automobile. The person's insurance company who's at fault for this. So you should be contacting them and telling them, look, I need a car to drive right now, and they are required to provide one for you. If they don't, then you can talk to your own insurance company, and they can kick in if you have that particular type of coverage. Sometimes people buy that coverage, and sometimes people don't. But one of the insurance companies ought to be able to supply that for you. Now, with respect to having or using the same attorney, you can use the same attorney, and oftentimes that's the easiest way to do it. But you can use your own attorney as well. Frankly, with most property damage claims, I'm sure Tony's had this experience too, most property damage claims, you can handle yourself. You don't need to pay a lawyer to deal with that for you. And that's really what you're talking about. They happen very quickly. Within 2-3 weeks of the crash, usually it's settled. They've paid out on it what they're going to pay out, and you can go about your merry way. But if it's dragging on at all, that's when you want to get a lawyer involved. But I'd say probably 95% of these things can be taken care of without a lawyer.
Absolutely. Call the insurance company and tell them, make sure they know where your car is. Sometimes that's the biggest problem. They don't know where your car is. They can't get in touch with you. You got to find out who they are. Call them. They'll come and look at your car, give you an estimate. In the meantime, get an estimate yourself, and they should take care of it because they don't want that. That's the one thing they don't want hanging out, the property damage.
That's right.
All right, let's go to, Greg in Beaver Creek. Good morning, Greg.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I went to high school there in Beaver Creek, so nice to talk to you.
Okay, my question is a friend of mine told me that on a rear-end collision on a minor whiplash, that's kind of a rule of thumb, pain and suffering would be twice the medical cost. Is that true?
Well, no, it's not true. Maybe 30 years ago, when I started practicing law, geez, I feel so old here sitting with you two. That sort of was bandied about 2 times, 3 times your medical bills, but really there is no formula, okay? It depends on the nature and extent of your injury. So, if you're hurt for a long time, or you have a permanent injury, or it affects your life in significant fashion, then that is what builds the value into your case, and you just have to have a sense, and that's why it's always good to consult with an attorney about your personal injury, because we have a sense of what your case may be worth, and I do it all the time. People call us and we say, just as we just told this gentleman he could handle his property damages, if your case is small, you may be able to handle it yourself. But there's really no formula, 2 times your specials, get all your medical bills, get all your documents, and it's really how long you've suffered an injury and how serious your injury is.
Well, now, if somebody does consult an attorney, how do people in your type of law get paid?
Oh, well, we get paid on what's called a contingency fee, which is a big word that just means that if we recover money for you, then we get paid. Generally, the customary standard is 1/3 of the gross amount of the settlement. Plus, if we pay expenses of litigation, you pay us back. Some attorneys don't advance those costs. I know our firms do. Okay, because some people can't just afford the litigation.
Okay, all right. We are going to take a break. We'll be right back talking about traffic accidents. 513-421-4691.